Hello, and welcome to the Rona Rants. I am your host, Bernardo. That's right, it's Bernardo. And today I will be talking about whatever I feel like because that's the whole point of a podcast. This is my first podcast ever, and I'm going crazy with the lockdown. And I feel like I need to share my opinions about everything. And that's why the Rona Rants came to existence. So you just have to sit down and listen, or turn it off. But I don't recommend doing that. Today I made a list of things to talk about because I don't know. I didn't want to improvise too much. I will be improvising, but I thought we would, follow some kind of agenda here. And I've got on my list, of course, number one, we've got the lockdown. So I want to talk about the lockdown and going crazy. Second point is bad habits. Third point is rating movies, what I think about rating movies. Fourth is ghosts. We'll talk about that more later. And the fifth point is just a hypothetical question that I have in my mind. And we'll be talking about all this. So sit back, relax, and just listen to my voice. So the lockdown. Well, first of all, let's talk about this podcast, right? So what's the whole idea behind this? Well, honestly, I never expected to ever make a podcast. It's not the kind of thing that I would do. It's not something that I ever thought about doing. But just the ideas sprang into my head, and I thought I would just go ahead and try. Why not? I mean, I've got opinions. It doesn't mean that they're any good, but I've got opinions to share. I've got a lot to say, and I have no one to talk to with them. I have no one to talk to about them, right? My English is fucked up. When you're alone for so long, your skills just deteriorate. I'm kidding. I live with my flatmate, and that's pretty good. Actually, it helps quite a lot. But I haven't been meeting a lot of people. I guess most people are going through the same thing. It really depends where you're from. So in Portugal, I know that everything is completely in lockdown. People are not meeting and so on, or they shouldn't be meeting. Here in Germany, things are okay. Like you can meet people, but you shouldn't, So anyway, my life has been like this gray, constant thing. Just working, working from home, of course. Working from home, working out a little bit, and watching series and trying to make myself feel like I'm being productive when I'm not really sure if I actually am being productive in my life. Whatever productive means, right? So I would say that this podcast is kind of like a productive way of doing things. Like it's productive. It's productive for me, Like I consider it productive because at least I'm not just sitting down and complaining about life. I mean, I'm complaining, but I have an audience now. It's not just complaining to the wall. So I wanted to talk about lockdown and how it's going and like just, I don't know, just talking about lockdown. I know that it's a common topic, but I thought I would just give my thoughts on it. So this is assuming that nothing bad happened to your family, like assuming that no one in your family or no one close to you got sick with corona. The lockdown actually has been kind of positive in a way. In general, it's making me go crazy, but it is positive in a sense. Like in the sense that you really, you really have to reflect on your own life when you're in this style of living. Like if you when you're in this lockdown, you really realize whether or not you can entertain yourself or not. It shows how dependent you are on other people. Of course, even if you're very self-reliant, like you can take care of yourself, it doesn't mean that you can't. I'm completely lost here. I don't know what I wanted to say. Oh, okay. Even if you're independent, it doesn't mean that you don't need people, right? But what I mean is like this lockdown kind of shows your weaknesses It shows like how dependent you are on other people, and it kind of forces us to work through it and to, you know, improve our lives. Basically, that's what I mean. And it's hard to deal with it though. It's really hard to deal with it. Like I've had to come up with alternative strategies to meet people, because for me it's not enough to simply talk to my already existing friends, you know? Like that's one thing. If you have your friends and you talk to them on a regular basis, which I'm fortunate to have. I have a very close group of friends, um, with whom I speak regularly. But it's still not really enough, because you don't have that novelty of meeting someone new, right? And I think that's really important, like the potential of meeting someone new. And what's curious is like I've been talking to a lot of people, and especially introverts, right? I would say I'm not really introverted. I'm kind of extroverted, very nerdy, but extroverted. um, and and it's curious because they actually like they lost a lot of introversion. Actually, they reached out to a lot of friends, and they focused on keeping their contacts alive, which is nice. So that's, in a way, it's very curious, right? For me, I don't know. I've been talking to some people. Um, I could be talking to more friends, but I came up with an idea of making a group, like a virtual group for people in Berlin, because I mean that's where I'm based, and I wanted to, you know, try to meet new people. So that's kind of what I did. But I can't lie that, I mean, this group is going well, by the way. Like we've got some people, and it's cool. You know, I've got people to talk to, like new people, new faces that I haven't even seen yet. This is kind of weird. Like it's a weird concept for our parents, you know, and even for people my generation, it's kind of weird. But um, where was I going with this? Yeah, I mean the lockdown is still, it still makes you go a little bit mad, you know. Like the cool thing that I like about this is I have my routine, and my routine is going pretty good, and I'm quite consistent in my hobbies now, which is has always been a problem with. It's always been one of my problems, like maintaining consistency. I would always get crazy ideas and go into like new things, and then never actually keep it up. So that's the cool thing about this lockdown. But the bad thing is like it's so easy to get crazy, you know. And I've talked about this a lot with my flatmate, and there was a period of time in which both of us were getting like really insane, you know. I think my flatmate, she had a worse time with this because she's more social than I am. So the fact that she couldn't meet people was really like getting to her. But now I guess we both reached like this equilibrium point. So yeah, and I've heard stories of people like really going insane and breaking the rules and stuff. Like, and I heard some news of like there was an orgy of 40, 50 people that was interrupted by the police. That's crazy. A fucking orgy during Corona lockdown. That's fucking crazy, bro. That's really crazy. But yeah, I mean about the lockdown. This is a topic that I would have liked to discuss with a guest. I will be having guests, by the way, in this podcast. I think it could be interesting. So if you would like to be a guest in this show, let me know, and I'll consider your offer. And it would be great to have new people here talk about all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say right now about the lockdown. We can get back into this topic later. I wanted to talk about, yeah, the bad habits. So one thing that I noticed about myself though, and this was in the first wave, like the bad habits that I had, they got a lot worse. So somehow the lockdown really it really intensified the negative things that I had before. So there were three addictions that I had. So one of them was gaming. One of them was smoking, and another was drinking coffee. And by the way, I'm not bashing coffee drinkers or gamers or smokers, but I would consider these my addictions, you know, because they got to a point where Like they were not sustainable, you know. So yeah, I had these three addictions, and in the beginning, I would say they were quite controlled. Um, but over time, they got worse. And let's go for each one of them. All right, it's much easier to talk about it like this. So let me just grab a sip of water. So the first one, gaming. Let's talk about gaming. So gaming for me, gaming has been a constant in my life. Or um, I would say, okay, maybe in the past 5 years, I've been on and off playing games. And for people who have never played video games, or like if you're from an older generation, even if you're from my generation or younger and you just simply don't play video games, um, I would like to try to explain to you why they're so addicting, or why people get so into them, you know? If you're not into them, typically I think people don't really understand why they're so addicting. And at least from my opinion, the thing is like these games, they're very good at giving you a sense of progress, right? So whenever you play, like, okay, if you play a competitive game, there will always be a rank. There will be something that you will have that you can compare yourself to other people, you know. So you will know like what other people's ranks are in some form or shape, and so you'll have the adrenaline of competition, and you have a progress, like a progression bar or some kind of rank that you can, you know, easily evaluate yourself and evaluate like how much better you're getting at the game the more you play it. And that's awesome, because if that existed in life, like people would be a lot more productive, you know? Just the fact that you see yourself improving with work, man, that gives you such a fucking, it's fucking kick, man. It's a fucking kick, you know? Like just feeling that you're getting better. It's such a, and I don't know, it's like a blast of endorphins. Like it really makes you feel good. So this is one thing. And then of course the games are like, they're designed to give you small rewards every now and then, you know? And in even in offline games, you know, single player games, they of course they can have good story and good and they're literally fun to play, you know, and all of that. But what really grips you is this reward system, in my opinion. That's what keeps you coming back, you know? Like, just think about it. Even the simulators that you have, like, why do people play simulators? Why are you playing a farming simulator when you can go the fuck outside and just plant a cabbage, you know? Like, why aren't you planting cabbages? Why aren't you planting the carrots and shit? It's because you don't get any fucking reward, you know? Like, if you go outside and you plant a fucking carrot, you don't get any, like, ding sound. You don't get, you know, you don't get any fucking coins. Coins don't magically appear in your pocket. Like, you just planted a carrot and that's it. It was a fucking waste of time, you know? I don't even know, like, you plant a carrot seed. I don't know enough about farming. I guess you plant a seed and then a carrot comes, right? I have no idea. Or is it like a plant? You have a plant and then the carrot is the fruit of the plant, I guess. I don't know. I'm guessing that makes sense. But you know what I mean, right? You just plant the fucking seed. You don't see the carrots. You have to wait, I don't know how many months to see the fucking carrots. And that's the thing about real life. Like, there's so many things you can do, you know, that are much better for you than gaming. But the thing is, you don't get that endorphin kick because you don't have immediate rewards. You don't see the rewards. You don't see the progress. And like a lot of the progress that you have is up and down. You know, it goes up and down, up and down. But like if you look like zoomed out on your progress, you can see that it's constantly improving in one hobby. But if you look short term, which is usually what we do, you'll only see ups and downs. You know, it's quite dismotivating. And with games, of course, maybe the same applies, but you just get like more of that reward. Like you get more rewards, but more visible rewards. You have a better notion of how much you're improving, and I think that's the real difference, you know. And that's what brings a lot of people to games. And and yeah, and of course, like I'm talking mostly about competitive games, right? Because in my opinion, these are the most addicting ones, the online ones where you actually play with other people, because they have that social component, and you can compete, and then you can, you know, progress together and so on. But of course, offline games also have their addictive, I don't know, properties. So yeah, about gaming, I think there's nothing wrong with video games. Like if you control yourself and you can manage them well, then it's how different is it from watching series? Um, for me, the problem is that I have a really hard time controlling my game time, right? So like I would catch myself just playing hours and hours on end, and a lot of my life has been gaming related. Actually some of my closest friends I made for gaming. So the my friends from Sweden I made for gaming. And it actually kept a lot of my friendships alive as well, because I would have friends that would game and we could play and talk. So there's definitely a big social factor in these video games. But the thing is, in my opinion, the fucking bad thing about games is that it's this fake sense of productivity. Like sometimes there's some things that you want to do in your life, like some hobbies that you want to develop. Um, and then you start doing them, but you get really discouraged because you don't get that kick you get from games. So what sometimes some people do is they pick up a new game, and they just create this like scarecrow objective. Like what I mean is like they create a new objective in their head so that they feel more productive. So they will either start a new series of games or try to reach some kind of rank in some game and so on. And if your objective is truly like becoming a better gamer, that's fine. But for me, I would do this, and I think I would do this because I wanted to feel productive about something, and I was discouraged by other things in my life. So then when I realized this about myself, which doesn't mean it applies to other people, I thought, fuck this shit, like it was really hard, but basically I cut gaming almost completely now. And what I do is like I'm trying to like play with friends every now and then if we schedule it and if it's like a short amount of time. Just to like, keep the social flames alive and shit. Whatever. But yeah, gaming is more dangerous than people think. Like it's one of those things that's a lot more addicting than people think. Like you sometimes I remember reading some articles of people who died playing games, and of course that's an exaggeration. That's really crazy people, and people who shit themselves while they're playing and stuff. That's that's insane though. That's really insane. Um, yeah, so that was one of the things that I kicked out of my life. And is my life much better? No, not really. But so what I've been doing, I've been reading a bit more, and I've been watching shows. Um, and so the question is, are they a better replacement? Um, the thing is, like when I read these books and I watch these shows, they don't give me that fake sense of productivity. Like when I'm reading or watching shows, um, I know that I'm using it as escapism. Like I know that it's not giving me. I don't feel a sense of progress, basically. So then I know that I still have to do some other things so that I feel productive besides my work. When I talk about productivity, I mean doing other things that are important for your life that are not work related. That's what I mean. So that's super vague. Like you can describe whatever you want as productive. Um, so yeah, are they better? I mean, I don't know. I feel calmer with watching shows and watching and reading books. Like with gaming, the thing is you always want more, and you always want to be better. Um, you want to be better than other people. So if you're playing online, for sure. But that means then you have to dedicate more time. You have to devote your free time to the game, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes. So yeah, I would say my life is a bit less stressful without gaming. But the second thing, smoking, oh boy, smoking. I mean, that is one thing that I never thought I would get into, but I basically fell into that trap. It's one of those things where, your parents tell you don't fucking smoke. It's not good for you. Like you see people smoking, you know that they're fucked up. Um, Not everyone, of course. I mean, like long term smokers, people who have been smoking for like 30, 40 years. These people, like, of course, you can see that smoking has had its effects on them. Like my godfather, um, I don't really speak to him anymore, but he, yeah, he was a chain smoker for many years, and he had, I think he had some lung issue. Like he was in the hospital when I was younger, and I remember that really, really affected me. And I promised I would never smoke. What a fucking liar! What a fucking liar! Um, yeah. I was mostly smoke free throughout my life, but there were a couple of times where I would go out drinking with some friends, and every now and then you would have a cigarette. And it felt good. I mean, it tastes a bit like shit in the beginning, but it's kind of like the feeling is nice, the relaxing effect of the cigarettes was nice. And since you would only do it every now and then, it was fine back then. I think the problem was that I had a phase where in Sweden I got bored. I just got bored from being at work. I was working for a while at a company because of my thesis and something else, and I was with one of my best friends at the time. So we were, yeah, like one of my best friends. We were both working there together, and like it was quite boring to be there, and like it was a good company, but it was quite boring. So in the lunch breaks, we would go out and we would go for a smoke because I don't know, it was fun somehow. I don't know why, it was just fun, and we could just talk shit and whatever, and I think it started a little bit there. But after we finished that work, then I stopped smoking for quite a while, and it then came back when I moved to Berlin, and I started smoking. When I moved to Berlin, and I started my new job, because my new job was fucking shit, bro. It was like the biggest shit I've ever had. It was so bad. Like my first job here in Berlin, um, we had a tyrant for a boss. Like our boss, he spoke fluent German, but he was not German. And so he I don't know, for some reason he just decided to not follow German law, just German labor law. And so he kind of preyed on people who wanted to come to Berlin. So it was one of my objectives was to move to Berlin. Like I wanted to, like I had lived in Sweden for a while, and I thought I would like to go to some other city in Europe, and I thought Berlin was something that resonated with me more than the other ones. And so I decided to come to Berlin. I even kind of changed my career a little bit. And so what this guy, this fucking cunt, does is he preys on people who really want to come to Berlin. So what he does is, first, he doesn't give you a very good salary, but at that time I wasn't that sure if it was good or not. Like I didn't have much work experience, right? So this is what he does. He goes for people who want to come to Berlin and don't have much work experience. So he offers you a salary which was below the average. This I already knew, but I thought like, okay, after a while I can ask for more because I have no experience as a software engineer. So he did this with everyone that went to the company. And then when we were there, he would often lie to us, saying like, oh, this is a rule in Germany. No company lets you do this. For example, he didn't let us use cell phones at all at work. Like you couldn't text, you couldn't call, nothing. You couldn't do anything with cell phones. And it got worse and worse. And this was something that he never said before, but he started saying throughout our first 6 months there. So then we had to have a fight about it. And he I don't know, he had this sick reasoning. Like he had these fucking sick rules which were not true. Like we would have to be there at 8, and we would often leave like at 7 or 8, so outside of our work hours. And I don't know, it was just fucking shit. So all this to say, that that's like a full topic on its own, you know. So I'm not gonna dive too deep into that. But basically, I started smoking the most like when I moved to that job, when I got that job, because you know I was fucking frustrated, and two of my coworkers who were good friends of mine, they smoked, and so we all smoked together and talked shit about the boss, and talked shit about the whole job because it fucking sucked asshole, you know. It was really shit. It was really really bad. Um, so yeah, I started smoking more there. At the end of the job, again, I stopped smoking. So it's usually when I was stressed, you know. That's when I started smoking the most. And then I guess like yeah, then I quit my job, and then the first lockdown happened, and that was still fine, but at some point I started smoking again. It was I don't know, maybe last March, April, maybe around April. And then I started smoking, and I just chain smoked for like yeah, for quite a while. So total it was like in Berlin I think it was like a year or more. So that was up until Christmas, and I am now 1 month and something sober. Sober from smoking, you know? Which shouldn't be that fucking hard, but it's fucking hard, man. It's fucking hard. And it's hard to explain to people who haven't smoked why it's so addicting, you know? It's like, just to give you an impression, like I would be smoking, like my throat hurts, my lungs hurt, and I would still grab a cigarette and go outside and smoke, you know? That's how bad it is. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like at some point I really thought, fuck, this is completely out of control. Completely out of control. And I hope that I never smoke again. This is my objective. But I don't think I will relapse either. But it's fucked up, you know? And the thing is like smoking, it often starts like this. Like you're just smoking with friends, everything is controlled. You do it like once every night out. And then eventually if you're under some stress and you have a friend who's a smoker who's under the same stress, you get caught in this trap because you think, okay, let just have one, and then it slowly becomes two, and so on. And then at some point, you're a fucking smoker when you go out and buy your own pack of cigarettes. That's when you know you fucked up. You know, that's when you actually fucked up. Um, and yeah, it sucks. It sucks, asshole. But the only thing I can tell people, like, I haven't been quote unquote sober for that long, so I don't want to be, you know, handing out advice to anyone. But I would say that now it's gonna probably be permanent. I hope. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be permanent. I have no interest in smoking again. I would say the best way to stop smoking is you have to fucking fight the fire. You know, you have to quit cold turkey. That's the only, in my opinion, that's the only way, because I I know quite a few people who are chain smokers or who were chain smokers. The only people that I actually saw quitting smoking for good were people who did it cold turkey. So one of them was my this close friend of mine from Sweden, and another one was another good friend of mine from Sweden, and um, and I think I met someone else who did the same. All the other ones, they found some substitute, you know, either like vaping or snus, which is this fucked up thing in Sweden where you have like this tobacco in a plastic bag, or it's not plastic, it's some kind of weird bag, and you put it in your mouth. You know, it goes right into your gums, and you're fucking sucking out the tobacco there. It's going straight into your veins. It's fucked up actually, but it's quite good, to be honest. And and or nicotine patches, you know. So they always find this. They find some way. They find some alternative, but does it work? I don't know, dude. I really don't think it works. I don't think weaning off slowly works. Some people like slowly remove cigarette by cigarette, you know. I really don't think it works. I don't think it works. I think you need to probably see like what's triggering you. Like, is it stress that's triggering you to smoke? And you need to cut it out. You know, you need to cut it completely and just fucking endure it. That's it. And if you relapse, that's fine. Just keep trying to like cut it out completely, you know. And that's my opinion. But what am I talking about? I don't know shit, you know. I'm not a professional in this area, but in my opinion, that's what helped me. And I know I haven't been smoking for years and years, but you know, I know how it is. I know how it feels to be addicted, you know. Um, and then, yeah, I got a bit lost on that one. Been talking a lot about that shit. What's the third one I wanted to talk about? Ah, it's coffee. Yeah, so coffee. I mean, coffee is okay. You know, like I have no problems with coffee. Like I think people shouldn't quit coffee. You know, it's fine. Like coffee is fine. The thing is, like I'm very very anxious as a person. Like really anxious. You know, I get fucking symptoms of anxiety. Even if nothing bad is happening to me, you know, like, and it's impacted my life in many different ways. I'm just a very anxious person. I don't know why. I don't know if it runs in my family or not, but it's just I've always been a bit anxious, and some things help. You know, like working out helps, and feeling like I'm being productive again. It helps. It's a way to fight anxiety. You know, like it's how I do it. Um, so I think all that shit helps. But the thing is, like, coffee fucks me up really bad, especially because again I have this like addicting nature. I tend to be addicted to stuff, and it grows and it gets worse and worse and worse. And I find myself, you know, starting with one cup of coffee, and it grows up to like 5 6, you know. And it's not espressos. It's like this proper fucking coffee, and I find myself like putting like more and more coffee into one cup of coffee, you know. And of course at the end I'm like super jittery, you know. I'm fucking jittery. I'm going insane, like getting crazy thoughts. Like it's like this. It's like mania, you know. It's like you have this manic episode, and then you get a crash, of course. So like my problem with coffee is that at first I overdid it, but even one cup of coffee, you know, could get me quite jittery. So that's why I stopped coffee. I don't think it's bad. I think, like, for example, some people who quit coffee, they talk about how their life is so much better and whatever. Like, my life is not much better, you know? And the thing is, the difference I would say is, like, it feels like when you have coffee, it's like you're borrowing energy from the future, you know? So either you constantly have coffee to keep yourself alive, keep yourself active, or you're gonna get a dip after you take coffee, you know. And I just don't like those waves, that wavy behavior of like energy and then dip, energy dip, and then if you don't have coffee, you just feel much worse than if you have never had coffee before, you know. So the difference that I feel is that in the mornings, so when I start my day, I have like this limited amount of energy, and that's all I'm gonna get. And so, of course, at night I feel much more tired than a coffee drinker, I think. But but throughout the day, I have a limited amount of energy, and it just slowly fades. You know, it fades out. And for coffee drinkers, it's more like waves, and it's up to your personal preference. I prefer not having coffee right now, and the only problem is that I really like the taste of coffee. I love the taste of coffee. I could have decaf, but in Germany, I can't find fucking decaf. It's not easy to find it. And what I really like is espresso. Because, you know, in Portugal, like, we have espresso. And I miss espresso. I miss decaf espresso. I really like that. But yeah, that's it about addiction. Fuck that shit. These topics are fucking... They're super negative, dude. Probably need to pick something better. All right, we've got rating movies, ghosts, hypothetical question. All right, I think I might skip the hypothetical question. We can talk about this another time because this podcast is getting really long. All right, so let's talk about rating movies and ghosts. So, rating movies. So this topic is actually connected to the next podcast I'm gonna do, because basically, like, I'm gonna tell you guys something. I think King's Head, no, not King's Head, sorry, that was a bar in Sweden. Kingsman, the movie, Kingsman, the Secret Service, or the Kingsman Secret Service, something like this. I think it's a fucking overrated piece of trash. I didn't like that movie. I know a lot of people liked it. It has a great rating. I find it like fucking mediocre. You know, it's mediocre. And I promised my brother and a friend of mine that I would rewatch it and give it a more detailed analysis. But basically, I found it nothing special. You know, like they have one scene where there's a major fight. Like it's a really good fight scene. This I can agree on. But the movie in itself, like, it's just fucking Johnny English, dude. It's fucking Johnny English. Like, how is it better than Johnny English? Actually, Johnny English is better, right? Because it has fucking Mr. Bean there. Rowan Atkinson is there. You know? Why would I watch the same movie but without Rowan Atkinson? It sucks. Like Colin Firth is not good enough to replace Mr. Bean. I'm sorry. That's my feelings about that movie. Like I will watch it again, and I will I will review it. You know, in the next podcast, I can talk about that fucking movie. But right now, I just think it's mediocre. And why do I think it's mediocre? Okay, and this is a topic we're going to talk about more in the next podcast. But basically, like, how do you rate a movie, right? So when you rate a movie, what are you looking at? You're looking at you're looking at the action of the movie, you're looking at the story, how well it's shot, right? There's many factors that are part of your review or like what you think about the movie. Now the question is the movie's originality a factor that you should consider? Is that a factor in your review? Like how original the movie or the concept is? What do you guys think? Is it a factor? In my opinion, it's a factor. Now, I kind of changed my opinion a little bit because I was having a huge discussion with my brother and my friend about whether or not it should be a factor. I changed my opinion because before I was saying that a movie can't be exceptional, you know, it can't be superb if it's not original. I've changed that. I think a movie can be exceptional even if it's not original. So maybe like it can have a low score on originality and still be awesome. But it is a factor in my opinion. And but the problem is like defining what is original, what is originality, and is anything actually original? You know, because you can argue that the human being creates something by putting two or more things together, and so that's how you create stuff. So you in nature you see a lot of things, and then you can kind of abstract them and then put them together and create something new. So then from this, what people can argue is like, how do you know that if you watch like a new movie, you know, a movie with a different concept that you've never seen before, how do you know that that's actually original, right? So if I showed you a movie that came before that one, which does exactly the same, then would you think that this movie you're currently reviewing is worse? And that's a good question. I don't know if it would work retroactively. Like imagine that you watch a movie, right, and you think it's awesome, and then it's like a complete copy of a movie that came before it, right? You find out, would you rate this movie worse than you did before? I'm not sure. I think maybe. I'm not sure if you would rate it worse. So maybe it's not retroactive. However, if you watch a movie, right? Let's say movie A, and it was okay, and then you watch another movie B, it was also okay, but it was completely the same concept as movie A, you're going to find movie B worse. That's my opinion. You're going to find it worse. So originality, or maybe it's not originality, it's what you've experienced before becomes a factor in how you rate a movie. But then at the same time, that's kind of fucked up because to give a proper pure rating to a movie, you would have had to watch every movie in existence to rate that movie, you know? If you want to like keep originality as a factor. So that's kind of fucked up. But I still think that you can't remove originality from the equation because, you know, for example, if you pick a shit movie like Human Centipede, you know, I mean, it's a shit movie. I didn't like that movie at all. Actually, I'm very squeamish. I couldn't watch all of it, but I find it a fucking shit movie. But the concept is original, at least from my perspective, it's original. So it doesn't get 0 points, it gets some points. That's my opinion. Like, I don't know what people think. You can write to me later if you want, or write in the comments what you think. My friend and my brother, they think that originality should not come into play because it's so subjective as a factor that it should not be important, or if it's important, it should be less important than the other factors. They do have a point, but I don't know. I somehow intuitively think like it's wrong. That's not correct. But I still have to think about it a bit more. Anyway, Kingsman is fucking shit though, because I don't think the other factors are anything special. Maybe the directing. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think maybe the way it's shot is cool, and some actors are nice, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it, and I will definitely review it and give you guys an updated review on that. And the last topic I wanted to talk about today was ghosts. I want to talk about ghosts, motherfucker. Ooh, ghosts. I want to talk about ghosts. Why do I want to talk about ghosts? Because ghosts are interesting, man. Ghosts are fucking interesting, Now, what I want to talk about is something that I think I've discussed with someone in the past. It's a thought that I've had when I was younger, and I talked with some people about this recently, and it's just something in my mind, And it's like this. So everyone knows that there's haunted houses. I think in every city there's at least one haunted house, right? And the world has become a lot more communicative. We're a lot more connected than we were before. So I know that there's shows about ghost busting and trying to debunk, paranormal activity and ghost stuff. But so there are people going after this, and there's probably an increase from the past because the world is more connected. So there are more ghostbusters, quote unquote, right? But the question is, atheism is now very prevalent. And that's, I guess, due to the fact that we have become more developed in terms of technology. The people are more connected. So there's there's more questioning of what has existed before. And one of those things is religion, right? So a lot of people question religion, and that's fine. Not to say that I'm atheist or a theist, right? So I'm not trying to bash anyone. So there's a lot more people who don't believe in God or spirituality or anything. But the question is there an increase in people who actually want to try to prove that it does, that these spiritual things don't exist? Because I feel like these spiritual things are often, people try to disprove them theoretically or scientific or based on facts or science, and that's completely fine. But I don't see people actually going out there and trying to see if these paranormal things exist or not, because they are somewhat connected to religion, right? I mean, if you were to find out that ghosts do exist, then you would get to know that there's an afterlife, or there is some scientific phenomenon that we haven't described yet that is happening. But it would be really interesting to know, right? I mean, if you're a pure atheist, if you're absolutely sure there's nothing, there's nothing after life. I'm not even talking about God here. I'm talking about no afterlife, right? Then why don't we see more atheists going out there and looking for ghosts and stuff? I don't understand why people wouldn't be curious enough to do this. Because I'm talking about my own personal experience. Maybe other people have different experiences, but from what I see, I don't see anyone say, yeah, I'm gonna go and look for fucking ghosts in a haunted house. Maybe because that's considered to be crazy, but I really like, because I can't say that I'm atheist. I actually do believe in some sort of God. I don't follow any religion, but I do believe in my own version of God, I guess. I do believe that there could be an afterlife. I'm not 100% sure. Um, because even if there is a God, that doesn't really mean that there is an afterlife, right? Doesn't even mean that he cares about us that much. But I want to believe that there is some afterlife. Um, and so I'm going to be honest, I'm fucking terrified of ghosts. I'm terrified of going to a fucking haunted house and finding a ghost. I am. Would it improve my life? It would probably give a lot more meaning to my life, because if I saw a ghost, like, I would have confirmation. Holy shit, something is up here, you know? Like, either there is an afterlife or there's some phenomenon we're not describing correctly, you know? Which is very possible. I mean, science is constantly updating. A lot of things that were considered to be true or facts are not facts anymore when you experience something new. A lot of, um, at least in physics, a lot of things were rewritten to explain, to give like a more global explanation of some kind of part of physics. So if we saw like ghosts, probably people would try to explain it somehow physically. But wouldn't it be super fucking interesting to see a ghost, right? At the same time, I'm terrified. Like, I'm saying all of this, but I'm in the comfort of my home, you know, and I got plenty of lights on, so I can say whatever I want. Um, but when it comes to actually going to a haunted house, that thought of, like, it strikes so much fear into my heart, you know, because before, I remember one time when I was in Sweden, I was with my friends who I met through gaming, and this was some years ago, and we had heard that there was a haunted house in their small town. So we went there by car, and I remember everything was fucking pitch dark. There was a forest around this house, and we approached the house with the cars, and at some point we're like, all right guys, shall we go out? And everyone was making an excuse, you know, like every guy was making an excuse to not leave the car, you know, like, oh, it's okay, like, you know, we can see it from here, like, it's fine. Like, no one actually said they were terrified, but I think everyone was fucking terrified. It looked super scary. I really did not want to go in there. And so all of this to say, honestly, I think deep down everyone is afraid that they actually do exist. So even if you're like a strong atheist, I really think that, you know, when it comes to it, I think a lot of people are not brave enough to do it. I think a lot of people are scared as fuck. Some people are actually brave enough to do it. You know, they don't believe in it, so they do it. And I think congratulations to you guys, because you actually, you know, you stick to your word. But I think a lot of atheists are actually scared of trying it, you know. But it would be perfect, because then you can actually consolidate your opinions, or if you're wrong, then you can actually fucking change your mind, you know. Um, but yeah, like, I don't know. I've been thinking more and more about this. I think maybe when Corona is over, I will try to go and check out a haunted house. I don't know. I don't want to bash atheists on this. I actually want to just propose that maybe everyone is actually agnostic, you know. Everyone is kind of afraid of death and things that we don't understand yet. Um, so yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I think that's a good ending for my podcast episode. And I'll talk to you guys more on the next one, where we will talk a little bit more about this fucking shit movie, Kingsman. And we'll have a bunch of other topics to talk about too. So if you have anything that you would like to, you know, that you'd like to share, go ahead and comment. You can write to me personally. You can write down here. If you want me to talk about a specific topic that you have in mind, let me know as well. This could be really interesting. And yeah, stay tuned. See y'all.